FanDuel has got the Marlins at 78.5 wins for the 2024 season. How do you feel about the Marlins heading into 2024? Why will they go on the over? And why will they hit the under? A couple of reasons why both we can get into today. This is Locked On Marlins.
You are Locked On Marlins, your daily podcast on the Miami Marlins. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Greetings from England and welcome to Locked On Marlins. It's your daily Marlins pod. I'm your host, Peter Pratt. Hit me up at Miami Marlins _UK. Of course, if you're listening to the pod, hit subscribe, leave a review. This is your team every day. And thanks for making Locked On Marlins your first listen of the day, of the week, maybe. Happy Monday, the 26th of Feb. There is a YouTube channel as well, guys. Make sure you hit subscribe over on the YouTube channel as well. The channel is called Locked On Marlins. Easy to find, easy to subscribe, baby. Easy to comment as well. Make sure you fire into the comments on YouTube. It is always fun and wild. We've had some big episodes the last week or so. For those that follow me on Twitter or X, would have seen there was 2 episodes last week that have been top 15 all time. All time. Nick Gordon traded to the Marlins. That is in probably like the top 5 now. It's going crazy. Tim Anderson signing with the Marlins within the top 15. 2 top 15 episodes all time. What that says to me is you fans, me as a fan, all fans of the Marlins, we have been thirsty. We've been thirsty for news. And now there's some news dropping. We've been all in on that one, guys. So what have we got on deck for today's episode on Monday, the 26th of Feb? We've got the season projections, the over-unders. They've been out for a while, but I want to talk about the Marlins specifically. I'm going to use FanDuel's over-under season total for the Marlins for today, and that is set at 78.5 wins. So we're going to use that as the baseline and talk why the Marlins will go over or why the Marlins may go under on that one. So a couple of different takes on this one. High-level themes. Looking forward to this one. Later in the week as well, Sean Barrett is going to be in the house, and we are going to be digging into all the reaction from the first couple of games of spring, which have been, we got to see the first one fully televised, and then since then, it's been Kyle Seelaff on the radio with the GoPro, so we can kind of watch it as best we can, but nevertheless, we got the box scores, we got some reaction, we've got everyone reporting on the Marlins, like the Fish on First guys are just absolutely all over it. Make sure you're subscribing and following along to those guys. Those guys are down there every day, and the content is absolutely en fuego from them boys. Guys, before we get into this one, though, it's time to let you know about our sponsor, which is FanDuel. Perfect sponsor for this one. And you can make every moment more. New customers join today, and you'll get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet of $5 or more wins. Just visit FanDuel.com/locked-on to get started. And where are we starting, guys? We are starting with why the Marlins are going to hit the over. 78.5 is the mark from FanDuel for the Marlins season total. Let's remind ourselves where they finished 2023. They finished on 84 wins. So the FanDuel projection has them taking a step backwards, finishing under 500. And that most likely would not be good enough for a wild card berth. So they're expecting the Marlins to take a step back. Here's why I think they have gone for the Marlins to take a step back. Firstly, Hoy Soler has left, signed elsewhere. Sandy Alcantara, they need to find those innings. Equally, the number of one-run wins feels unsustainable, maybe. The other thing, too, the Marlins offense, when you piece it all together, they were the worst run-scoring unit in the entire NL. So I can understand why many would look at the Marlins 2023 year and say they got lucky. They were lucky to get there, and they weren't an 84-win club. They were more like an 80-win club, and they're taking a bit of a step backwards. That's what I think, what this is based on. And frankly, that's probably a fair assessment, to be honest with you. I feel like that is, and I'm an optimistic Marlins fan, no doubt. And I feel like that's a fair assessment of, on the outside anyway, how you would see this club. So here's why I think the Marlins will hit the over. There's a couple of things in play here. Firstly, let's start with the front office. This is a big one. The Marlins front office completely overhauled their approach to the game, players, player development, game management is all going to change. And health, physiotherapy, recuperation, you name it, everything is changed for the better, in theory. So, in my opinion, off the field, all of these changes that have been made, all of the different layers of coaching and development and personnel, I think you piece it all together. I think the Marlins have had a massive improvement in that space. Does that relay to wins and losses on the field in 24? I think it could. I feel like they're going to be smarter with the way they go about games, the way they acquire players, the way they piece their rosters together, the way they use platoons and splits and all this kind of stuff. And I think the biggest change we're going to see, to be honest with you, is with the pitching and the way they mix and match heavily. Probably when we reflect back on this year, you'll look at the Marlins and go, okay, for the Marlins starters, what was their average length of start? You know, there's every chance they could be like less than 5 innings. You know, less than 4 maybe. I don't know. I don't know how aggressive they're going to be with these openers, but the biggest change for the Marlins has been the front office. There's a lot of big brains brought into this organization, and I feel like that is going to impact the club in a positive sense. The Marlins have lost Kim Ang, so that is a subtraction. Kim Ang, what I must say, from a 40-man construction and maintenance and in-season trade negotiator was very impressive. The Marlins have lost that thus far. We'll see what Peter Bendix can do, clearly, but I do feel like if they're in it at the deadline, which they could be, and if they're going to hit the over, then they will be in it at the deadline, most likely. And so, like, Kim Ang swinging some of those deals, glorious. So the Marlins have lost that. Let's see if they can make up for that loss in other areas. So that's the first one. Front office, the analytics, the way they approach games, rosters, management, you name it, Marlins have improved. Second one, Skip Schumacher, second-year manager now. In his first year, he won the NL Manager of the Year. He's going to get better too. Skip is going to improve. He's going to take another step forward. Skip Schumacher, in my opinion, one of the best managers in the game, speaks so wonderfully, instills culture. He knows he's been a player recently enough and gets it. Skip Schumacher taking a step forward. So your game manager, your actual manager, for me, another year of experience. It's a big plus for the Fish. He's going to take another step forward. I'm interested to see how Skip Schumacher and the Marlins plays out longer term. You know, do the Marlins and Skip enter into some sort of extension? There's not many of these jobs around. The Marlins, they feel like they're ascending. It feels like Skip is assembling his unit, his guys, the types of guys that he wants. For me, this is like a perfect fit for Skip Schumacher, to be honest with you. Clearly, there's like a location challenge where his family is West Coast. You know, Miami and South Florida, like the furthest point away possibly. So that's a challenge. That's the only challenge I can see really with Skip Schumacher. But for me and the Marlins in 24, Skip's going to take the next step forward, which is going to help on the field. Frankly, Skip could barely do anything wrong in 23. Do you remember that at bat? Do you remember that at bat, the reverse splits at bat for Yuli Gurriel at some point? Gurriel strolled out. Everyone's kind of going, what the hell is Skip doing? Next thing is Gurriel steps up, delivers like probably the game-winning RBI or something like that. And Skip was like, yeah, dude. Are you not seeing his reverse splits against this dude? Poof, baby. And we're like, oh, yeah, Skip knows. Skip knows. So for me, Skip Schumacher, another step forward. Talked about it from a pitching perspective. The Marlins, generally, I know Sandy's not missing. I think they are going to take a step forward because I feel like the pitching is actually deeper this year than it was last year. And I feel like the makeup of the pitching staff in general means that it gives probably the front office and Skip maybe what they're looking for in terms of being able to mix and match dudes. We'll see. They're talking about a 5-man rotation, but I'm really interested to see their use of openers and all this kind of stuff and, bullpen games and everything around this. So for me, the Marlins and their approach to pitching is going to be interesting. But equally, the talent that they have available, I think is going to be really interesting. Trevor Rogers, potentially back. Edward Cabrera, back. Max Meyer, back. Tony Bender, back. There's loads of dudes that are back. Clearly, as the year goes, there's going to be guys that drop out. But the Marlins have enough depth to be able to withstand that, in my opinion. So let's talk about the offense. Is the offense going to be better? Well, firstly, from an offensive perspective, they have subtracted the putrid elements. Wendell gone, Segura gone, Stallings gone. 3 starters that were absolutely putrid, gone. Garrett Cooper, who wasn't that good either in 23 and was traded halfway through, gone. So there's 4 dudes there they've taken away that were below average. I mean, Cooper's probably just about on the bubble, but 3 in particular below average. Addition by subtraction. You've removed them 3/4 and you've got better offensively. The guys they've replaced them with 2 equally are better as well. So not only have you got, you've got Berger over Segura. Berger's one of the top third basemen in the game right now. Gene Segura was one of the worst hitters in baseball last year. You've got Tim Anderson, who has every potential to be one of the best hitting shortstops, most productive shortstops in baseball, versus Joey Wendell, the worst hitter in baseball in 2023. Jacob Stallings. Again, I mean, how many guys did the Marlins have that were like trying to be, in contention for the worst hitter in baseball? But Fortes, interested to see what we can get. Bethancourt is the one, right? Not only can he control the running game, but equally, what can he do with his stick? Either way, with Stallings, the defense declined, the offense was not there. He added nothing, Jacob Stallings. The Marlins have got better just by removing these guys. But they've also added in Tim Anderson. They've also added in a load of versatility and a load of speed and a load of dynamic players. Nick Gordon, Tim Anderson, Vidal Brujan. These guys, they are ultra dynamic dudes that can play anywhere and give you the depth you need. We are not going to be seeing, guys come up that have limited ability and can't impact the game. The Marlins have got guys in there on this roster, even that are going to start on the bench, that can impact the game, be it in the first 8 innings or in the last inning or in extras. There may be some role players, kind of Mag Sierra extravaganzas. I don't know. But this offense is better. It's better just by removing those guys. Plus, they've added in guys as well. The offense is better. It's going to take quite a big step forward. It hinges around Jazz Chisholm Jr., fundamentally. If Jazz Chisholm Jr. can stay healthy, then this Marlins offense is absolutely humming. It's humming. And Jazz, there's no reason why you can't get a 40-40 campaign out of Jazz Chisholm Jr. There isn't. He could be absolutely the MVP conversation. And really, from a Marlins offense perspective, considering the rule changes, they were unable to maximize those rule changes with running on the bases. It was something that was just completely, unexpected, to be honest with you. It was a part of the game they couldn't exploit. I don't think they'll make that mistake again. I think they're going to be running plenty in 24. I think they're going to be putting tons of pressure on. And I think Bethancourt's going to help protect that as well. So the offense is going to be a lot better. What do they do with DH? This is the question. How do they get this production out of the DH spot? There's still off-season to go. Bellinger's just signed. Let's see what else happens. But who knows how this goes? The only other thing to call out is, could Brian De La Cruz spend more time in the DH spot? Could Nick Gordon spend more time in left field? Do they like Nick Gordon's profile out there in left field? I think they might. I think it's going to be really interesting. There's still time to go. But overall, the offense for me is better. The pitching staff, the depth of it and the talent around there means they can do what they want to do from a front office perspective. The front office is hugely upgraded. Skip Schumacher knows what he's doing. He's got an extra year of experience, 1 year of experience. The Marlins are being led in the right way, both on the field, off the field. The offense has got more talent and they've removed the dead wood. The pitching staff looks interesting. The one-run games, I think, is an interesting situation. Is that sustainable? It probably isn't. But with the offense improving, it doesn't matter. There won't be as many one-run games. There won't be. The Marlins offense will carry this team more than the bullpen needed to. I think the Marlins and the way they piece this offense together have a potential to be a really nice offense and a really nice offensive group. It's not going to be a headline grabber like the Dodgers or the Braves, but I feel like this offense, if it clicks, if it rolls, propelled by Jazz Chisholm Jr., could be really at least mid-table in the NL, which again alleviates all of the pressure on the pitching staff, all of the pressure on the bullpen, and lets them win games a touch more comfortably and lower the blood pressure for all of us Marlins fans. We're going to carry on this conversation and talk about why the Marlins may not be able to hit the over here. But before we do that, let you know, of course, about our good friends over at FanDuel. Yes, sir. Of course. The graphics are up. Yes, sir. And guys, you can get buckets with your first bet on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 if your bet wins. You can bet on all your favorite NBA players and teams with quick bets, live same-game parlays, exclusive props, and more. Just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and shoot your shot. FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of the NBA. All right, guys, back here with me, Peter Pratt, on Monday, the 26th of Feb, and we are looking at the Marlins 2024 season projections. With FanDuel, 78.5 wins is the mark. Talked about why the over. Now let's talk about why the under. Why are they not going to make this mark? What could go wrong for this Marlins team? Oh, boy. Okay. There's a few main reasons why. And this is for any team, any club. Health. You lose your big guys, it's gonna test you. It is absolutely going to test you. You lose those guys at the same time for a prolonged period, it's going to test you. Doesn't matter if you're the Bravos, you're the Marlins, you're the Rockies. It doesn't matter. If you lose all your guns at the same time, it's tough to win. So health's going to be the main factor here. It will be the main factor. Talk to me about underperformance. Who could underperform? Who could take a guy's going to take a step back? That's the question. So if the Marlins are really going to heavily take a step back, then you're going to be looking at someone like Luis Arias. Is Luis Arias going to take a step all the way back and become like a 250 hitter out of nowhere, a 220 hitter? Like, is Arias going to fall off the cliff and not be the table setter that he was, not driving in guys maybe that are ahead of him? That's the question. Is Tim Anderson going to be a bust at shortstop? We've talked about how Wendell was putrid, but his defense was good. What happens if Tim Anderson rocks up and his defense is putrid and so is his stick? So then he's actually even worse than Joey Wendell. I don't think that's going to happen. But if that does happen, then the Marlins are in trouble. Arias takes a step back. Tim Anderson's putrid. And the other question then is, what about Jazz and his health? If Jazz plays less than 90 games, then again, the Marlins are in trouble. If Jazz plays less than 60 games, really in trouble. I'm high on Jazz. I'm always high on Jazz. And frankly, you can't predict a toe issue where he stubs his toe into the rail or the fence. You can't predict that. There's a freak injury, a fluke injury, but does it impact him moving forwards? Will it be fully healed? Heard Aaron Judge talking about like a similar injury, saying he'll never be fully healed. He'll always be there. Is Jazz going to be the same guy? I think he will be. But again, this offense hinges on Jazz and Arias. So if Arias takes a massive step backwards, if the health issues, like I said, any team this could impact them, but if the health issues are there, that's going to hurt the Marlins, clearly. What about if they have to carry Avisail Garcia? Let me talk about that one. Like, if Avisail Garcia has the types of seasons he's had with the Marlins and he ends up having like 400 at-bats, then that's another good reason why the Marlins are going to struggle here badly. Like, what's Avi's role going to be? I don't know. Feels like we've spoken enough about Avisail Garcia, but for me, like, if Avi has 400 plate appearances and is as he has been as a Marlin, I'm getting hyped talking about Avi here, but if that's the case, then the Marlins are at risk, let's say. So that's where it starts, to be honest with you. It starts with those guys. Can Arias sustain? And if he can't, the Marlins are in trouble. can just stay on the field. If he doesn't, that's a problem. We need to talk about Tanner Scott because, frankly, Tanner Scott's season in 23 just came out of nowhere. And Andrew Nardi out of nowhere. What happens if these guys, and listen, the Marlins bullpen carried this team fully in the main. It carried the team, hence why they won so many It was a historic bullpen in close games. The volatility of bullpens and the odds suggest that that is unlikely to be the same in 24. Like I've already said, I think this offense will be better and there'll be less pressure on the pen. Nevertheless, there will always be pressure spots with the bullpen. There always will be. And you need to be able to rely on Tanner Scott, Andrew Nardi. I'm interested again about AJ Puck's role. Sounds like he is going to be starting games. We'll see. We'll see what that actually looks like. But, Anthony Bender may be back. We'll see. But for me, it comes down to Nardi and to Tanner Scott. Can those guys have and repeat? The volatility of this position says they probably won't, to be honest. And the biggest reason why maybe the Marlins will go under in terms of the projections of 78.5 is that they get to the deadline and they're not in it. And then the second half of the season, it becomes a bit more of a challenge because you haven't got Kim Ang adding to this roster like she did to give him that boost. No. You end up Peter Bendix doing a retool at the deadline. Josh Bell will have to be moved. Tanner Scott will have to be moved. Luis Arias could be moved. There's guys, big parts of this team, big parts of this roster, that if they're not in it, absolutely should be moved, and some that could be. And that's going to be the biggest risk for the over-unders. It always is for these clubs that are on the bubble, really, because everything hinges on the deadline. Like last year, just think if the Marlins didn't add Berger and Bell, like where would that season have gone in the end? Those guys came in and rejuvenated it. If the Marlins aren't buying at the deadline and they're kind of like flatlining a bit, plus then they sell, man, they're going backwards rapidly. Final ads and we'll get out of here for this one. This one is brought to you by our good friends over at eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. What brings home the winning trophy is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. From superchargers, roof racks, I love that segue, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber and not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. All right, guys, back here with me, Peter Pratt. Monday, the 26th of Feb. 78.5 wins is where FanDuel has set the mark for the Marlins in 24. We've talked why they can go over and equally what risks exist and why they could go under. Let me just recap these and then I'll give my kind of final view on whether I'm hitting the over with my hard-earned cash and how far over they're going to be. So, from a projections standpoint, 78.5, I can understand why that mark is set. Soler, no longer with the organization. Felt like a lucky 23. Is it sustainable? Probably not to the naked eye. I think the Marlins are going over because they've added by subtracting, firstly. And that is in the front office and on the field. They've removed some dead wood and they've added some studs in the front office. How this team is managed is going to be very interesting. How it is run, how development is run is going to be super interesting. It would not shock me to see guys take a mid to sizable step forward across the board, to be honest with you. Wait to see. I also much prefer the construction of this roster, this offense in particular, headed into 24. I think the offense is much better than it was in 23. We saw what happened in 23. Wendell, Stallings, Segura, all no longer with the organization. all replaced by better players. The offense is going to be better. The bullpen will be questioned because is it sustainable to win that many one-run games and be nails all year long? I think it is, but equally, I think the reliance on the bullpen will be slightly less. I also think the way the Marlins run and manage their innings will be different, and we'll see a different type of game management from this club. It's going to be different. It's going to look and feel different. Also, I feel like the Marlins are going to get the running game going, which I think is a vital part of baseball now with the rule changes. You have to be able to run. If you aren't running, you're losing. And frankly, the Marlins didn't run last year, and it almost cost them. So I think the Marlins are going to absolutely go over in this, by the way. I think they're going to go way over. Like 78.5? Come on, do me a favor. What are you saying? We're taking a step back of what, 6 games? 5-6 games less? No. I'm not seeing it. I think the Marlins end up with their season total starting at least with an 8. At least with an 8. And obviously things can happen along the way that can affect that. But I think the Marlins are at least starting, that it's going to be 80-something. At least. And to be honest with you, there's no reason why it can't be the high 80s. Which I know sounds crazy to say. But it's absolutely possible. It depends how aggressive they want to be at the deadline. The fact is, this Marlins, farm system is relatively lacking. So they're probably a touch limited in the moves they are that are to be made. But the Marlins still have a ton of pitching depth. If it's healthy, there's no reason why you can't move a guy to go and add somewhere else that you may need. We'll wait to see how that plays out. But the Marlins have so much pitching depth at this point. They've got so much coming through. They've got some of the best pitching prospects coming through as well. They're young. They're still a way away. But still, the talent is there if they need it. If the Marlins go under, the reason they've gone under is they've not been healthy. Firstly, there's been a big problem with health. That's going to be the main factor, in my opinion. The other reason is someone like Luis Arias takes a massive step back in terms of his production. If Arias takes a step back and the Marlins aren't healthy, they're bang in trouble. Bang in trouble. And if they're in that position, they're going to sell at the deadline, which is going to further compound the issue. So let me know what you think. Let me know what you think the Marlins season total will be and whether they're going to hit the over or the under. Let me know, and by how far. Let me know what I've missed. It's probably a few things. But for me, I'm feeling bullish about the Marlins. Really bullish, actually. Now Tim Anderson's come in. It's rejuvenate. Give me that kind of lease of life. I can see that fit. It was a perfect fit. Is there one more signing left to go? Can they get JD Martinez? Craig Mish says no. Craig Mish says no, they're not in on JD Martinez. But what does Craig Mish know? Guys, that's been Locked On Marlins for Monday, the 26th of Feb. Thanks for making Locked On Marlins your first listen of the day. Look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow. Sean Barrett's going to be in the house, and we are going to be looking and reacting to the first few games of spring and all of the action we've seen on the field and on the box scores. Look forward to seeing you then.